All right, welcome to episode 180 of the Canadian Prepper Podcast. We are recording on October the 16th, 2022. My name is Eric. I am the host of the show, based in Southern Ontario. Hunter, target shooter, ham radio operator, and of course, computer geek. That took me a little while to find the go live button this evening. As a first responder, I witnessed an over-reliance on emergency services during major events. Started a small preparedness company to help people get better prepared for at least 72 hours, if not longer.
I'm Ian. I live on Vancouver Island, where I have a small hobby farm. Oh, shit, it's the wrong week. I'm Alan. I'm a safety trainer, first responder, security expert, and overall safety nerd.
And I'm Jeff. I'm based in Central Ontario. I am a target shooter, ham radio operator, general overall handyman, and weather nerd.
Hey, everybody. I'm Brad. I'm in Eastern Ontario. Consider myself a part-time amateur prepper since about 98. Constantly trying to better myself.
I'm Greg. I'm in Southeast Georgia, former U.S. Army infantryman, avid prepper, and whiskey enthusiast.
And sometimes a big jerk.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
My name is Pierre. I'm a beard owner, t-shirt designer, government hater, and kind of a part-time prepper.
Just kind of.
Well, yeah.
More like
I don't
75%.
want everybody to know everything.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yep.
Our
If you want
favorite
to help,
kind of person.
it is. If you want to help support the show and keep the Canadian Prepper Podcast on the air, you can buy some swag. We've got the Canadian Prepper Podcast t-shirt and the tactical Velcro patch available at prepperpodcast.ca. All proceeds do help keep the lights on and the backup generator fueled.
And if you're enjoying the show, please take a few minutes and like us on Facebook and submit a review on iTunes. Also, we want your feedback, good, bad, or indifferent, or just a topic you want us to cover. You can email us at feedback@prepperpodcast.ca.
All right, we've got some chilling content for you in this episode. Oh, yeah, terrible. We're going to start off with some recent news articles. Then we're going to update our personal preps and let you know what we've done in the last week or so. Then we're going to get into the main topic. We're talking about winter preps because, old man winter is coming. Let's move into the news, shall we?
Put this one in just for Scott. It's a link to an article from London. Canada Post decided that it was unsafe to deliver to specific tenants or to a specific building, and so you just simply can't get your packages to your door the way you're supposed to. So my takeaway from that is the government can just decide not to deliver to you kind of as they wish. So that's great for our infrastructure system.
Well, they can decide which are allowed to own and not own.
Bad enough, right?
Hey, as long as the Amazon packages show up.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be an issue for any other delivery service, just Canada Post.
Speak
So
highly.
I've got a couple here. Just continuing on with the preparedness part of it. 21 days after Hurricane Fiona hit the East Coast, there are still 2,900 customers without power on PEI. I haven't heard the number, or I didn't check the number anywhere else, so that's my bad. But just think about that. Some of those people have been 21 days without power. So
They must stink.
Yep. I think actually somebody put something in the Discord. I made some comment about that, and they're like, yeah, you should see all the smelly people at the Canadian Tire. So
Yeah, that was the off-grid pet family in PEI.
yeah.
I've chatted with her back and forth a little bit, and she said the same thing on Instagram, that it was pretty smelly seeing some of these people in the lineups at the Canadian Tire. It was huge.
But they're those are the unprepared. So
Or are they prepared? Because if you smell, people leave you alone.
that is true though.
Valid point.
True.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. I like where this is going.
Oh boy. It is a good point though, Jeff,
my
with
second
the
article,
whole 21 days thing. It's kind of lets people know like that kind of thing can happen, and a drawn out power outage is a reality.
Yeah,
and it's happening right now, so it's
Yep.
worthwhile looking into and getting ready for.
Yeah. And the second one I put down was just kind of a unique information kind of thought process thing. So Hurricane Ian or Alan, whichever one you want. The storm surge in Fort Myers Beach, Florida, was 15 feet. So just a lot of people down there. They're in mobile homes. I bet you.
Not anymore.
Yeah, well, yeah. I was going to say, I bet you
Extra mobile homes.
their buildings weren't even to the peak. Were 15 feet. So they were totally underwater. So just kind of gives you a thought on, a little bit of perspective on what happened down there and how bad it was.
Classified is going to be full of used trailers for sale cheap.
It does bring like a really good kind of food for thought, right? Like if you're near where storm surges can happen, right? That 15 feet is the height of a house. It's the height of my garage. Now I happen to be 1,000 miles inland, so it's not the biggest risk for me. But if you live in that area, I mean, even where Greg is, there's fallout from that storm. So that's
Yeah, luckily
it's
the only
definitely
thing,
definitely a sobering thought.
yeah, luckily the only thing I got, because like where I'm at, I'm in the middle of everywhere else that got hit. So I'm like right outside all those areas. But yeah, the only damage I really had was, that tree that fell through my home gym. Wasn't too thrilled about that. I was just standing out there too, and it was like, poof, just
You
comes
couldn't just pick
crashing.
it up and move it.
I mean, no.
Then I guess you weren't using your home gym.
Not during a hurricane.
And you call yourself a prepper.
Yeah. It's like out here trying to get swole. It's fine. Next thing I know, this isn't Kansas. What?
I put a news article in here about the government, specifically in Ontario, excessive long wait times at hospitals for people coming in on ambulances, as well as walk-in patients. They've gone up. I mean, this article says 53% for most, almost 12 hours wait time. If you're being admitted, almost 48 hours. It takes almost 2 hours if you're coming in on an ambulance to be passed over before the paramedics can leave and all that stuff. So it's just, kind of makes you think when there's something like this, try and be a little extra cautious. Obviously, there's scenarios where you need to get to the hospital, but also maybe being able to self-sustain yourself and understand how some medical stuff, super glue it shut instead of going to try and get stitches might be a better option in this case if it's going to take you 2 days off of work and 3 days of rest. So yeah, just something to keep in mind.
It's also kind of telling that if ambulances are taking that long to offload, that means there just simply aren't ambulances to respond. I know that happened in this area not terribly long ago, in the last couple of weeks, where there was nobody for like several hours. There were no ambulances available. They were all in queue to offload. That's a scary thought as well.
That is.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
And then the other thing is, even if you even have an ER room to go to, part of the South Bruce Gray Hospital Service Area or whatever is the Chelsea Hospital, and they have closed their emergency room until at least the 2nd of December. So,
Yeah,
So it's appointment only. Okay, that makes sense.
So plan your emergency accordingly.
Yeah.
So, but not just that, there was rolling out, or not outages, but closures, right? Like, hey, we're going to close for a few days. So you'd have to travel across town, and all that just due to shortages of all those people we laid off for other reasons. But
yep.
yeah, so
Wow.
yeah, just, something to always keep in mind, especially in this scenario that, maybe trying to dive off the roof onto the trampoline into the pool may not be the best time.
Oh, don't
To do
forget
that
you have to
now.
hold the beer.
You.
Don't spill your beer doing that.
Don't-
Though.
yeah, don't you have to hold
Yeah,
your
I
beer.
mean, That
It's
goes
okay.
without saying, but I'm just saying.
It's okay.
right?
It's
Like,
bourbon.
the nice thing is, though, you'll probably be able to finish your beer before the ambulance shows up because they're still at the
Hmm.
hospital. But just
So we
something to
actually
keep
had
in
that
mind.
issue here. The county I work for the forestry, there, I can't remember when exactly it was. Jessica was telling me about it. It was like last week or week before. There was a car crash, and for the entire county, they had one ambulance, and I think it took like 2.5 hours. The lady was pinned in her car. She was trapped, broke leg, all that good stuff. You know, it's pure adventure.
Wild.
And they didn't get to her for like 2.5 hours, I think.
That's wild. That
Yeah.
is a long time to be
So,
waiting.
in my
for-
opinion, I feel like the smarter thing to do instead of just waiting there, I feel like, call a tow truck. Just have the tow truck take her. Put her in there. I don't know.
Can you
Yeah, there's-
can you just
there's no
imagine a tow
liability.
truck showing up and we're like, yeah, there's a person in that. I'm not moving that.
Buddy, don't worry about it. Here's a 20. Quit asking questions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's,
This
it
is
is good
Georgia.
food
You're
for
going to
thought.
see a lot worse than that.
It is some good food for thought for people to get thinking about that thing. Is if you find yourself in some kind of an emergency situation, things are backed up right now. It's just the reality of the way the medical system's going, and maybe I don't know, be prepared for such events, because unfortunately somebody listening to the show here is going to at some point in time end up having to use medical services of some sort, and be prepared that there's going to be a backlog. So
Yeah, I'm not sure how you're supposed to prepare to get trapped in a car wreck, but
Yeah.
maybe y'all think about that and get back to me. Let me see what we can come
That
up
would have
with.
been episode 39. There's a good chance we covered that at some point.
most likely somewhere along the line we've covered it. It's probably covered under the avoid doing such things. But
if you're gonna get trapped in a car, make sure you do it at the right time when you don't have to have an appointment for the emergency room.
Near the hospital. Or the fire
Always help
department.
you.
Near
tow
the
operator.
fire hall, not the hospital.
Yeah,
Or the tow operator.
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Just wait for the guy with the 3500. He'll be there.
There you go. All right, shall we move into what we've done lately for preps?
Sure. A bit of fuel rotation in the last few weeks. Lots of work, a little bit more work, some sleep, and then some work again. Finished insulating the underside of my mudroom, and 98% done closing in all around it, like making a skirt because it's on stilts off of the house. Working on the yard cleanup before Old Man Winter comes a calling. This week, hopefully, to get the grass cut for the last time, and then start
Shut
on my
your
vehicle
filthy
preps
mouth.
next weekend if everything works right. That's me.
Nice.
And I finally got my hands on my pressure canner. Thanks, Pierre.
You bet,
I
man.
started swapping out my my vehicle bag from summer to winter. Did some outdoor preps for the winter. Cleaned the gutters, took the AC out of the window, etc. And met with a local prepper group today for a nice little chat.
That was a lot of fun. For myself, common theme going on here with everybody. So I got the yard tools kind of tuned up, ready to go. So we've got a couple of big maples here that drop a bunch of leaves. Some people are going to scream at me for the following comment, but I blow those leaves around and move them. Yes, some people say leave them. Yell at me if you'd like. Got the backyard fence pretty much all up and going. It's about 85% complete. I need 160 more boards. So we're short a few, just one or two.
I know a guy with a sawmill.
$1,000.
There you go. I happen to have a sawmill next door. It's very
Okay.
convenient. Yeah. So those boards are should actually be ready to go. So get those put up. Almost all the trees are out of the backyard that were dropped, thanks to Jeff. He has been working tirelessly getting those all chopped up and hauled away. Just a little bit of small cleanup left to go. touching on the whole medical scenarios that we were talking about just a minute or two ago, a pretty good wake-up call on the level of our medical system. Our little guy had to go to emerge. Everything's good, but he had some breathing issues going on. And it was about a 4-hour wait. Fantastic. But eventually they did get him in and looked at, and like I said, everything's fine. But even just finding a doctor in the area right now that can look at the kiddos, because both of them are, of course, sick right now. And it's been interesting trying to access any kind of healthcare around here. It's been frustrating to say the least. But literally a 4-hour wait for a 3-year-old having breathing problems. Talk about a little scary, but
Nice.
they eventually got them sorted. Started switching out gear from my summer stuff to winter. And same as Jeff mentioned, met with the Simcoe Preparedness and Resiliency Community Group in Barrie. And we were there for a couple hours. And great people and a great conversation, with the exception of Jeff, of course.
Somebody's got to take one for the team. So
No, everyone's fantastic there. We had some really good conversations, some really good people, and covered all kinds of topics from canning to shocking ham radio to medical stuff to
You don't say.
It was a lot of fun.
No, I'm blown
Yeah, I
away to
know,
hear that.
right?
Let's see. Last week, I made a trip up towards the Simcoe, the Simcoe County area. Said hello to Eric. Picked up a few additional tourniquets, some packing gauze, some Israeli bandages. It was nice. Always nice to stop in at Rapid Survival and say hello. Spent a few nights bouncing around hotels on the way to vacation in the Great White North. So got to practice the SOPs of counting the doors and figuring out my ways out and figuring out my ways in. There was 3 hotels and 3 nights, so that was interesting. Our Great White North, by Southern Ontario standards, anyways, it was a family cottage up on the lake, and had some great time there. Just really relaxing more than anything. Got to practice my fire making skills, both indoors and outdoors. Did a little fishing, didn't catch anything. Did some handicraft practice tying some knots and a few other things. Got some reading done. And thanks to Eric, I was able to sit back in the evenings and watch the first season of Emergency. I absolutely love that show. I feel like a better paramedic as a result of that every time I watch it.
It is a fantastic show.
It's a fantastic show. If you haven't watched it, it's a great one. It's a great one. Johnny and Roy are the best of the best. Did a little bit of maintenance on the vehicle, on my truck, topped up some fluids, made an appointment to go get the tires done on my wife's car, which I drive back and forth to work. Started assembling the winter kit. It's going to be a little bit interesting this year because I'll be commuting in my wife's car, not in my truck, so I have to pare down what I can carry. So that'll be interesting, and also have to be isolated because my drive is a lot longer than what I would normally be used to. So I'm much more likely to be involved in, be stuck and stuck on the side of the road, stuck in another town. Some places along that stretch of highway are upwards of 15 minutes in good weather and can be, an hour between exits. So it's going to be interesting to see how the winter plays out. So starting on that, and did no yard work this weekend, so that's how it is. We'll do that next week.
Always got to be different, huh?
Always.
You sure you're not Ian? Because that's like Ian level list there.
That's literally 5 things I just stretched out into 33 sentences.
Pretty sure I heard you say something about CGN under your breath too.
Probably.
It was closed when I drove by, but I was looking at Elwood Epps. And remembering that the last time I was in there was, damn near a decade ago, and I should probably stop in at some point and see. And then just on the drive home, we just didn't have time for it. So next time I'm up there.
I got through started looking through some clothes, make sure it's all in good condition since winter's coming. And then that made me think that I should probably make sure that my daughter's clothes and boots still fit. Instead of doing that to see what list of stuff we got to do. Took the last AC unit out of the window, and it was had a bunch of caulking in there, so I had to spend 15 minutes cleaning it all out. So then we made sure that the window actually closes and locks and seals properly, just so I don't wake up to, I don't know, an inch of snow in the room. That's about it, because I had a lot with work and out of town and all that stuff, so didn't get too much done, but the essentials done.
Oh yeah. So I went ahead and went through, cleaned up the truck, reorganized certain items from the cab and moved them into the bed in a tote with a tie down so it doesn't like move around and stuff. Did more food prep and rotation. Fixed a few things around the house today. And did some more knife making this last week.
Nice. Very nice. Well, shall we move into the main topic? We are talking winter preps tonight. So we usually do this episode around this time every year. It's kind of nice to be able to say every year. It's like we've been around a little bit now. Unfortunately, Old Man Winter is coming right around the corner, and it is time to start switching your gear around and getting ready for that inevitable thing that's going to happen. Call it snow. Get the shovels out and be ready to rock and roll. So let's open it up to the panel and let's talk about what we're doing to get ready for Old Man Winter to arrive and what kind of scenarios we think we could be possibly faced with.
I'm not doing much.
Yeah, you are no longer on the channel.
Yeah.
Don't
I'm
really
just
have
buying
a
whiskey.
winter.
Buying
Yeah,
whiskey
well,
and going to see Greg.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
get all these
I mean-
cool guns. I can do all this fun
Pick
stuff.
me up on the way.
I don't get winter. Why
It
do
was
I have you on the show?
85 degrees today, guys. It was 85 degrees today.
All right, so Greg gets muted.
It was
All
it
right,
was
that's
47 degrees here.
Sorry. But no, so that actually does me not getting much of a winter does make me come to a certain topic, and that's just the fact that just because you don't get a long winter or a harsh winter, like you can still make sure that you go through, maybe throw a blanket in the truck, something like that, extra clothes, which I always got extra pair of clothes in the truck anyway. Pair of sneakers and boots, both, extra socks, stuff like that. But I did move my booster pack from my toolbox in my truck and put it in the cab just to kind of help keep it warm. When we do get to those few colder evenings and days like that.
What, like 72?
Like
We
55, 56,
we'll get
Like,
to,
is 90% of your winter preps putting socks before you put your Crocs on?
I don't wear Crocs. I just put flip-flops on. If I got to run, I just kick them off real
Is
quick.
that still 90% of your winter preps? Putting socks
Yeah.
on before you put
Yeah.
whatever footwear on?
If
I mean,
if
the
gotta
rule
put-
is open toes until it snows, and if it just doesn't snow, then you're fine.
So it is what it is. But I put some like the thin cold weather gloves in my toolbox or in my tote and everything. But yeah, just if you don't have, like I said, a harsh winter, still take time to make sure you got water in your vehicle, because the biggest thing when it comes to cold weather is just because you're not sweating, we forget to drink water. Because we're not like dying of thirst. But you gotta still hydrate, so on and so forth. But yeah, I focus a little bit more on my electronics. I got a little like $3 rechargeable flashlight from Harbor Freight. I love that thing. And every time I get in, I'll plug it into the cigarette lighter and make sure those are all charged up. there's one more thing I'm gonna do for mine personally. I got this idea from my boss, and he got a wool blanket, and I've been looking at them, trying to pick one out. But he took it down to the sew shop and had a zipper put on the wool blanket and pretty much turned it into a wool sleeping bag, because he said he doesn't really like using a sleeping bag when he goes camping. He'd prefer a wool blanket, so he just had a zipper sewed on it. So if you end up stuck on the side of the road and it's super cold, slide yourself in that. Wool's going to keep you super warm. That zipper is going to help trap some of that heat in there.
That is a fantastic idea.
Yeah, it is a good idea. I like it.
Me too.
Yes.
Adding
So
that to my
I
to-do
kind of
list.
thought, check. I'm more on the, people who are driving and that your vehicle maintenance. Make sure your vehicle is properly maintained and ready to go. Make sure your battery is good. If it's weak now, change it. It's it will definitely leave you when it is absolutely the coldest. So get that. If you can't do it, find somebody who can. Somebody who can help you out. Check your coolant. Make sure your coolant's still good. Most coolant should be good to minus 35. So do your tire changeover. Get your winter tires on. For the record, at least for me, there's no such thing as all-season tires. They are 3-season tires. They're crap in the snow. They're crap in the winter. Look under the hood. Check your belts, your hoses, that kind of stuff, just for cracks, signs of wear. Something a lot of people don't think about is your wiper blades.
Good point. Yep.
Don't see a lot of people change them till they're out in the middle of the road and it's snowing and they can't even see. So, check your wiper blades if they need changing. Make sure you put the winter ones on. If you carry an emergency bag, like we chatted about, swap it out. Get your summer out. Get your winter kit in. And
we had an episode about this time last year that would tell you what to put in that bag.
This is true.
Well, I left that. There's some other people that have got ideas there, so I didn't bother to say what put in it. I'll leave it for them. Around your house, just do a quick walk around, check for damage or missing items, specifically shingles over the summer. If you have a wood stove, make sure your chimney's clean. Drain and roll up all your water hoses. Shut off any outdoor water valves to prevent a bursting pipe if it gets super cold. And which Greg should have done, check trees for any broken or dead branches that could come down if we get a heavy wet snow.
It's okay. I found the ones that need to be cut down.
They came down for you.
Already on the ground.
Yeah. I don't have to worry about it. Ian took care of that for me.
Now you just gotta chop them up.
Yep. They're already burned. Yeah, it's crazy. They landed right next to the 45s. Wonderful. Right on the rogue bench. So I want to touch on what Jeff just said on the batteries. So if you're looking at replacing a battery, look at a gel battery. They hold up to heat and extreme cold a lot better than your standard acid batteries. They cost a little
cold. 'Cause you're talking winter where you got to put
about
socks
23.
on.
About 23. I'm just kidding. No, I've got a gel battery in my truck. I can't remember what it ended up running, but I don't know if y'all have AutoZone in Canada or not. I'm sorry. But you can look at Optima's. There's the Duralast ones. If you do have an AutoZone there, O'Reilly's, I think Advance has their own now. I know the AutoZone one is a Duralast Platinum. And those are all usually pretty good at taking abuse. Like I said, mine's been wonderful so far. It's
So
at
you
least.
have to-
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So, in Canada, you got to look at the CCAs. So there's always a stamp on
Yeah.
the battery, right? Cold cranking amps.
Mhm.
So the colder it gets, the more the higher that number is, the more likely you are to be able to start your vehicle in the cold.
Yeah. So
right? Cold
where
crank and amps all play into factor at that point. So I mean, yeah, I don't know if I'm saying you got to spend $300 on a battery, but I'm like, it is kind of that fine line where you do kind of get what you pay for.
yeah.
In most
Um,
scenarios for those things. I'm not saying that, the $800 battery is
Yeah.
what you need, but sometimes those really cheap ones, will actually like they'll get you by, but may put you in a
they
jam.
might last a year or something like
yeah,
that.
you got to find that happy medium,
Yeah.
right? Like there are some companies where I'm just like, yeah, that's good enough, because I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
for some people, an extra $120 for a car battery, can make or break whether you're getting groceries or not.
Yeah.
But going to buy a $60 battery instead of a $200 battery, I mean, you're
Yeah,
going to
so
regret that purchase.
I want to say the Duralast Platinum for my truck. I drive a Z71. But I want to say it was like 120, 130, maybe 140. And of
Yeah, so
course,
it's 350 Canadian.
okay.
Yeah, we gotta do the conversion to Canuck bucks.
Y'all can do that. I'm not mathing tonight. but no, it's definitely worth it. So where y'all have to worry more about extreme cold, I got to worry about extreme heat. So I mean, both are gonna cause a lot of stress on that battery, on charging system all around, because if your battery's getting drained, then your alternator has to pick up that slack and work just a little bit harder. So in the summertime here, it'll get well over 100 degrees. By 7 a.m. you're already at 95. The sun ain't been up an hour. So
how did we get talking about 100-degree weather on a winter prep episode?
Greg.
Because
Because
Greg's a big jerk.
Because we
that's why.
invited
The American
him.
Jack.
Greg the big jerk.
yeah, go ahead, invite the guy
Exactly.
from the south, and then
Yep.
yell at him when he talks about what he knows.
One of the things that I was
That's
going
the fun of it.
to Jeff's point while he was talking about walking around your house and taking a look is this is a great time to make sure that your locks are in good working order, your doors are sealing properly, so adjust your strikes so you've got good contact with the weather strip. Please do not use WD-40 in your locks. Please use a silicone-based lubricant. My personal favorite is 3-in-1 brand. It's not an endorsement in any way. I just like it the best. I've been using various lubricants for various mechanical and other parts for a lot of years, and that one seems to be the best overall in my experience. White lithium grease is also a really good one.
PB Blaster.
Sorry?
PB Blaster.
Yep. I also like Jigaloo. It tends to be good, but WD-40, it separates. It's oil and water essentially.
Yeah.
When it separates, it gets really, really gummy really fast. For those of us that still use mechanical keys, right? If you drop your keys in the snow, please dry them off before you put them in the lock, and don't buy lock de-icer at the hardware store, right? That little tube or that little squeeze bottle at the counter. It's usually about $2 or $3. Probably 50 cents where Greg's from. Wait, do you know what lock de-icer is, Greg?
I do.
But that's basically just salt water. When the water evaporates, it leaves the salt, which causes corrosion, which makes the locks work poorly. Your best bet is to grab a paper clip, heat it up with your lighter, and work it into the lock until everything melts. But just make sure you dry off your keys before you put them in the lock. That'll save you a whole lot. I had a little list as well of a few things. This is a great time to get to know your vehicle as you're doing all the things that Jeff mentioned. When you're taking the tires off, for example, to swap out your winter tires, it's a great time to check on the wear of your brake pads. Look for anything that's loose, seized, damaged, whatever. Plan your trip. Plan for the roads to be closed. Have a couple of alternate routes available. In the winter, in bad weather, they close roads for weather conditions. They close roads for collisions. They close roads for all kinds of reasons. So know your alternate routes, and also be prepared for the reality that everybody else will also be taking those routes. So if you happen to be traveling normally on a really, really busy highway and you're obviously all of a sudden going on to a side street, then you're you're likely going to be facing a lot of traffic. So be prepared for that, and be prepared to spend the night away. Right, if you're going to be away from home, just be prepared to spend the night, shelter in place wherever you are. Throw an extra jug of washer fluid in your vehicle. I have never run out of washer fluid at a convenient time. I've never gotten to the gas station as my washer fluid light comes on, and actually I had a vehicle, not my current one, neither of my current ones, but I had a vehicle that didn't even have a washer fluid light. You just ran out at one point, so that sucked. I tend to wear shoes when I'm driving instead of boots, just because my gargantuan feet in my wife's little compact car is they don't fit the pedals terribly well. So make sure you've got boots nearby, right? Nothing worse than trying to walk around in slush and snow and ice and whatever in running shoes.
Yeah, I hate that.
Or dress shoes if that's what you wear, right? Shut up. Shut up, Greg.
This is the Greg's last appearance on the show. For those of you that would like to write him a letter, you can email feedback@prepperpodcast.ca, and I may or may
And
not.
he won't get it because his
will not get it.
Again, when I drive, I like to take off my jacket. I like to be comfortable and have lots of room to move. But make sure that you have stuff nearby. When I worked on ambulances and I worked in the very far north, we saw it more than once in the winter where, it would take hours and hours for somebody to be found on the side of the road, especially if it was snowing. And if they couldn't reach their jacket, their winter coat, their snow pants, whatever, it was not going to go well for them. In the time that it takes responders to get there, get you free, and get you into warmth. Remember the rules of clothing.
Yeah, when you mentioned that, Alan, I believe it was last winter, possibly the winter before, we had a pretty good snowstorm here, and it came off of Georgian Bay. So over towards the Midland Way, they closed one of the roads, and it just drifted over tops of the vehicles and everything. And as the county's going through and clearing the roads, they found a car and they looked inside, and there was an older gentleman in there, and they figure he'd been in there for about 36 hours.
Exactly.
Well, look at Quebec. I think it was 2 years ago too, where they shut down. I think it was the 15 north or south or whatever, and they left 200 cars down there just because there was a crazy accident and a storm coming through. So I mean,
yep. Happened in Southern Ontario. What, about 10 years ago? The entirety of Highway 402 between London and Sarnia was closed down. It took hours for helicopters to get from Trenton to the area to start evacuating people, but that was just hours, and we knew they were there, and still couldn't get to them. So be prepared for that, right? The rule of clothing is cold, clean, open, loose, and dry. So you want some airflow, but you want to keep yourself dry. You want to keep yourself loose in layers. And if your clothes aren't clean, they're not going to insulate terribly well. So wind and moisture are your biggest enemies. Prepare for those. And finally, there's way more nighttime than daytime in winter. So make sure you have lots of good flashlights kicking around and charged batteries. Remember that your old lead acid and lithium and nickel metal hydride batteries will just go stone dead in the winter, and when they get freezing, whereas your lithium ions will last a little bit longer. And that is everything on my list, because everything else was already covered in the notes.
So on the Jeff mentioned, check your wiper blades and everything. What you can do, what I like to do, I'll keep a bottle of Windex and a microfiber cloth or something. And whenever I see, maybe every 2-3 weeks, I'll go outside and spray the microfiber cloth with the Windex and just wipe that rubber down, and kind of keeps it hydrated, keeps it from dry rotting, and so on and so forth. That way, just kind of prolongs the life of your wiper blades.
You haven't tried that at -20, have you?
No, I'd like to do it before. I'd like to do it before I get there. I'd like to do it before I get to that point.
Yeah.
We've got somebody else in the live chat on Team Greg.
Yeah.
How should I prepare for winter down here in Central Florida?
Put ratchet straps on your roof.
Yeah. Trampolines to deflect any flying debris.
There you go.
Yes, the trampolines are very important.
Yeah.
So I would, in Central Florida, I would say, I don't know, make sure the bumpers are on the boat, I guess. I don't, maybe put a hoodie in the truck. Maybe closed-toed shoes. Thin pair of socks. You don't want your feet sweating.
Pair of work gloves.
Yeah, a pair of work gloves. Nothing major. The easy slip-on mechanics gloves. Those are nice. Those are what I use.
Yeah, my parents used to go to Florida every year, and they do get some cold snaps down there. Like into the 40s, if you want to call them cold snaps or whatever. But it was funny in the trailer park. You could always tell the Canadians from the Americans, because us as kids were out in t-shirts and shorts running around, and they've got toques on, and they've got the heavy jacket and the long pants, and they would just look at us and they're like, another Canadian. Yep.
Yeah.
This is summer to us.
That's how it was when I first moved to Tennessee. I came from Vermont, so Christmas time there, everybody's like got a thick puffy jacket on, and they're like, man, it's like 20 degrees, and we're over here like, I don't even have a shirt on, like just running around the concrete parking lot, just in nothing but shorts, not even any shoes, like 5.
I had here, make sure to have a battery booster pack in your car. I think we touched on that before. And a phone charger, one of those backup battery bank things, USB things. I think I have 4. 2 in my lunchbox.
Car boosters that have little USB ports on them as well.
Yep, those
That's
2.
what mine's got.
I have one of those Nocos that have the you can put the booster battery, or you can put the booster cables onto it, or the USB. Has a flashlight and an SOS thing. The only thing it's really missing is a magnet. It should be really nice.
Yeah.
We touched on it before as well. The warm clothes for all, or at least an additional layer or a blanket. I drive for a living. Tomorrow I'm headed down Kingston area, and I was down to see Eric a few weeks ago. It was the furthest trip south I've done. So imagine doing that in the winter. I'm very unfamiliar with all that area, and I would always bring extra snacks and water. Like Pierre's seen my lunchbox. It's huge. I got lots of stuff in there. I never go anywhere without food and water. And go through your first aid kit. Check everything that's in it, just in case you need it. Stock some extra stuff. If you've got room, throw a bunch of stuff extra into it. Why not?
No, it's a good point. You can never have too much, right?
Nope.
Right. So what I've got in here is I tend to have 2 things when it comes to winter preps. I have a little bin in the back of the car that stays in there, and that's mostly got blankets, anything to kind of keep you warm. And then I've got a bag I'll take in and out. So, excuse me. So I'll do the winter swap out for my bag. So I'll put some spare socks, clothes, maybe a thin pair of long johns, some gloves, hat, a few plastic bags in there in case my feet get wet. I can at least keep my feet wet, putting them back in the boots. Hand warmers, foot warmers, spare batteries, and flashlights. So I'll have that in a bag that I can take in and out of the vehicle easily. Inside the vehicle, I'll tend to keep at least 1 or 2 blankets, some candles, a spare jacket, or something to keep warm, booster pack charged inside, as well as booster cables in case you ever need to use it when you're by yourself or you don't have another vehicle. Sorry, I keep muting. I gotta tickle my throat. But use the booster cables whenever there's another vehicle available. Tow chains and hooks, a bag of salt in the back, reflective vests, maybe more than 1. You never know if you're going to be outside. And then for people that have trucks, make sure that your spare tire actually comes down and that all the tools are working and everything is good. the mechanism for the back can get a little seized up. So rather know that now than when you're on the side of the road with the flat.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same way. I've got a kind of a tote that I keep my that's in the truck all the time. And again, just like Pierre, I've got, basically a complete change of clothes. So socks, long johns, gloves, toque, the hand and foot warmers. I've actually got a plug-in, a 12-volt plug-in, one of those smaller blankets you can plug in, candles, that kind of stuff. And then in my carry bag, that's where I keep like my snacks and my water and that. I don't want to leave the water in the truck all the time. It'll just freeze to a brick. And so I kind of carry that in and out with me. But yeah, it's I like the idea of the reflective vest, something I never thought of. But yeah, you're outside in the middle of a storm trying to fix something. Absolutely, you need to be seen. So
so I'm very fortunate that my work pays for a bunch of my clothes, so I get really good winter gear. But I'll throw a vest in there, and then one thing. So I've got a small bin or bag or whatever you want to call it that sits in the trunk that's got everything that can stay in the vehicle at all times. Then I've got a small bag, and then I'll make a small bag for. I'll get the daughter involved, and it's like, hey, it's winter. Where's your bag? So she'll just have like a spare change of socks, pants, whatever, and then like a book with like crayons so it doesn't freeze, right? In case you get stuck on the side of the road. She's very crafty and everything, that like you give her a piece of paper with a little bit of something. So like, get them involved, that if you are stuck on the side of the road for 3 hours, you don't have, your 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 4-year-old in the backseat. Are we there yet? I'm bored, this, that. So try and get them involved. That, it's just a small little bag, nothing that they can't carry themselves in and out, but just get them to be like, okay, do you have a spare change of warm socks, pants, and then just something to entertain themselves for an hour or two, other than a tablet and technology, can go a long way, them being able to draw for an hour.
That's a really good point, and a good way to get little ones involved in it too, right? I like that idea. Just even getting them to participate in packing a bag up, having something ready, and then having something to keep them entertained. Because keeping the little rugrats entertained for a certain period of time can be challenging at times. So having a few different options and being able to say, hey, remember, this is the bag that you put together. Let's take what you put in there out to play with, kind of helps get their mind going and gets them okay with having some things there, and takes the stress of being stuck somewhere away too, because that can set them up to just have the epic meltdown when you really don't need that, right?
Or at least it might get them entertained enough that you can like gather your thoughts and assess the situation, okay, and come up with a plan that by the time they're bored of drawing, you're already back on the road, right? So
that's a really good point. I like it. Any opportunity to get the kids involved and get them thinking and something to keep them, like you said, even just enough time to be able to have your own mind kind of cleared and figure out what the heck's going on and how you're going to deal with it. It's even like a 15-20 minute break where they are sitting in the back coloring is worth it for sure. So no, really good point. I like it.
Pierre, you were saying about the reflective vest. And I had totally forgotten that I had these just for that reason. But the flashlight with it's a red beacon on the end of it.
Look at that.
Yep.
Flashlight on the front, and it's got 4 small magnets on it.
Yep.
That's brilliant.
To stick to the side of the vehicle, changing a tire, you can either have a light or there it goes.
Yep.
The red beacon and
I like that.
Something.
a hook.
Yep.
Huh.
I like it.
So I tend to always have a headlight in my go bag and a little case with some extra batteries, just so if you need to change a tire, if we've only got one vest or it's crazy cold, I can at least have a light on my head, so I have use my both my hands, and then just I don't know, as many all the void spaces after you put everything in your bag, fill it up with hand warmers, toe warmers, and those space blankets. Those can keep you warm for hours and hours and hours. If
Yeah,
needed.
David in the live chat was mentioning that as well. Those things are fantastic, and they fold up into a small little nothing, so you
Mhm.
can easily carry them. But they're surprisingly effective.
They're hugely
and they
effective.
weigh next to nothing.
And even in your vehicle as area blankets, right? Like you can line the roof of the vehicle, like the inside of your vehicle with it, line the headliner, line the windshield, reflect what heat you've got back in, especially if you got 2 or 3 people, you'll be toasty warm.
And it'll keep the CIA away from trying to get into your brain with all those waves.
There you go.
They double as a tinfoil hat. This is correct. Yep.
When I was when I was young, my grandparents went in their car. They used to have an old juice can with a couple of candles in it that were embedded in sand.
Yeah.
That's a thing. That's a great way to generate some heat. Just remember to crack your window open. Otherwise, it's going to build up that carbon monoxide that we want to avoid.
50 minutes.
Yep,
Look at
50,
that,
33.
50 minutes.
Way to go.
That is probably the longest amount of time we've gone.
I managed to
yourself,
not mention it all one episode not too long ago. Somebody else
No,
had
you weren't on. You weren't on. I don't think we did a whole episode without
Yeah,
mentioning.
that was an episode that Ian was on and you were not.
Makes sense.
Oh, that's right. I'm Alan this week.
That's right. Yeah. Keep mixing it up. Keep mixing it up.
So
Oh,
on
man.
the spare tire thing,
Yep.
another thing you can do is just drop it, just throw it in the back, throw a tarp over it, so it doesn't get covered in snow. If it's already in the back of the truck, you don't have to worry about dropping
One
it down
step
on the
done.
side of the road. Yeah, that's one thing less you got to
Yep.
do. Get you off the side of the road a little bit quicker.
Yeah. Or you drop it down and you put I call it the candy spray. Brad knows what I'm talking about because it smells delicious.
Oh my god,
But there's a spray. Yeah, there's a spray and it works fantastic. It'll pretty much get anything seized, unseized, or at least manageable. But yeah, it's just it's a key feature that gets passed. And I mean, even if you bring your vehicle in and get that, winter preparedness thing, I can almost guarantee you no dealership will look at a truck or van or SUV where it's an undermounted bracket of some sort where you got to put a socket on something or whatever. They will rarely ever drop that tire to make sure that mechanism works. And it's going to happen when it's minus 30 and the roads are crap and it's going to be 6 hours before a tow truck comes to save you. So
Yep.
wouldn't be a bad thing to get into now and either get it fixed or, like Greg said, cut it out and put it in the back somewhere.
What spray was that, Pierre?
Oh, it's called Corrosion Guard from M-Zone. Smells like
Okay.
candy. It smells so delicious. Keep it away from your kids. Like I am a 34-ish adult, and I'm like, I want to lick this stuff.
The
It's
first time,
like, yeah,
the first time I used it, after he gave me a can of it, I used it on my work truck, and 2 hours later, I walked by the side of the truck, and I still smelled cotton candy.
yeah. It smells like candy, but like ratchet straps, anything. I use it on my load binders for work and everything. Anything that seized, I spray it on, give it a minute or two. It pretty much works like it's brand new. It's awesome stuff. I'll send you guys a picture in the group chat later there. It's fantastic.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I'll go look and get one. Yeah, I never thought of that. My spare tire's under my truck, and I've had
Yep,
it for
mine is
6
too.
years, and I've never taken it down. So that's
It wouldn't-
definitely
yeah,
on
it
the
wouldn't
list for the
surprise me
next
if
few
it
days.
doesn't come down.
I
Right.
should probably do the same on mine. I've had mine
Yeah.
since what,
Thinking the
2013.
same
so-
thing.
Yeesh.
Well,
Yeah,
my
great.
my wife's car doesn't even have a spare tire. It has a an inflate and seal system.
Yes.
Oh, the little compressor with the add-on
With the-
snap-in cartridge
jar
of
of stuff,
foam,
yeah.
whatever stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, have you ever used it? Because it actually works
I
really
have.
well.
Yeah, it works really
Yeah.
well. I also keep
works.
plugs in my my battery powered inflator.
Yeah.
Keep a patch kit, but on the side of the road, I'd rather just swap it and go. Darren in the live chat asked, "Does Alan have a carbon dioxide detector in his truck?" I'll assume you mean carbon monoxide. No, I don't.
He doesn't only have one; he has multiple.
In fact, I have a 4-gas detector, which also checks for HCN. Oh god, I'm such a nerd. And oxygen levels and a few other things. But no, I don't. It's I have them all
You
at
gotta
the
fix that.
house. I don't have them.
Probably fix
Yeah,
that.
I
but-
don't have one in the car. I have. Geez, I'm slacking. I guess no, they're they're not terribly portable unless you get the battery powered ones, and frankly, I don't trust them unless they're from like MSA or Honeywell. And I don't know about any of you guys, but I don't have $1,000 to spend on a detector that's not going to tell me anything's wrong. So
Fair enough.
that's where I live with that.
Darren does have another good point in the live chat in regards to filling an empty dish soap bottle with windshield washer like antifreeze, and it could be used on the wipers that are frozen in the windshield, because that's bound to happen at least once or twice this winter. So great tip.
That is awesome, considering that I drive a bigger truck, and it's hard to get up onto the hood. In a windshield washer bottle, I can just in a soap dish bottle, I can just squeeze it from the ground.
Yeah,
So
I use
don't
a
hit
I use
my
a spray
wipers.
bottle.
Or that.
I keep a spray
That's
bottle.
what I
I
got.
use that instead of like having to scrape the frost off the windows. I just spray it down and.
I like it.
So this may start a back and forth controversy because it
Oh.
seems to when I ask it at work every once in a while. But to the
At
mechanic
work, you're
people out there,
retired, Jeff. You're retired. What do you mean at work?
yeah, I know. If you're parked for a while, do you pull your windshield wipers up, or is that too hard on the spring? I know some people at work do it, some don't.
I don't.
Not
Yeah,
my
I
truck.
pull
I'll
mine
do
up.
it every time.
Yep, I pull them
You
up.
do or you don't?
Do
I
You do?
do it every so often. If I check the weather before leaving, I know it's going to be a bad night. Yeah, sure.
I don't, but I put a cover over my windshield. I went to Costco and I bought like the cover that like elastics onto your mirrors.
Yep.
That covers the windshield, covers the wipers. So that's why I don't.
Yeah, just putting
one-
a piece of cardboard, even under it, right? Like, so depending on the wipers you have, the curve of it, and the wind and everything. I mean, them being slammed on your windshield are probably unlikely to get your windshield to crack. But if you've got a small rock chip in your windshield, it could cause damage. And then some of the wipers have a crazy, well, I shouldn't say crazy, but they have a good bend in them that depending on how the wind is, it could actually break your wiper putting them down. But just putting pieces, I mean, either getting the wrap like Alan said that will cover your whole windshield, or even just putting a little bit of cardboard underneath, just so you don't have to chip at anything solid, right? You can, even if there's ice on the cardboard, you can break it off real easy, and everything would not be a bad alternative.
Yeah, I think the
point.
discussion was: are you weakening the spring that holds the pressure of the wiper on if you continue to hold it up all the time? And
I would say no, but I mean,
no,
prove me wrong. I've been doing it for long enough.
yeah, well,
I'm gonna go with probably not as
And
well.
Greg's like, wipers have to come off the windshield at some point.
For what purpose? Yeah, rain just beads off it. Why would I lift the wipers up?
Actually, that's not a bad thing to do either. Is Rain-X your
Oh, yeah.
windshield?
Yep.
That Rain-X stuff, it actually helps. So it beads the water off, but it also helps make scraping ice off a lot
Mhm.
easier. And
Mm,
I'm
I
like,
will
it's
say yes to
fairly
that.
cheap. It's fairly cheap, easy to apply. Obviously, you don't want to do it but I mean, you just, if you've ever waxed the car, or you've
Yep.
watched, if you've ever watched at least what's that movie, Karate Kid, wax on wax off, you
Yep.
do little circles with it, let it sit,
Yep.
and
Yep.
wipe it all off. Like, it does make a giant difference on being
Do
able to clean a
not
windshield
put
off.
too much on though. I made that mistake once. It's fine during the day. Can't see anything at night.
Yeah,
Don't do that.
That's all-
Yeah.
follow
Follow the
instructions,
directions to the T. Yeah. I thought, oh yeah, a
Yeah.
little bit more will be good. A little bit more will be fun. Yeah, no.
and actually,
Follow the directions.
funny enough, my relatives used to again go back and forth to Florida, and they had that Rain-X on, and
Yep.
they got pulled over in a state somewhere. I can't remember which state it was, and they actually got a ticket because the law apparently down there said if it was raining, you had to have your wipers on. Their thing, it was just beating right off, and they didn't have their wipers on, and they got. I think they picked on them because they were Canadian, but
Probably.
they dinged them for no wipers in the rain.
I had a 76 Nova. It didn't even have windshield
Wow.
wipers.
Oh, here we go.
I just Rain-X'd it. I did. That's what I drove in high school. If I needed to clear off the windshield, I just sped up a little bit. It'd be all right.
Oh, jeez.
Another quick
With that,
thing, either a bag of salt or
Oh, yeah.
a bin with some kitty litter.
Yes.
Help you get out of a little
traction.
icy.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
whichever one is best.
Bring both.
Yeah, if you can, both. A little
Yep.
5-gallon
One,
pail
one is
or a
none.
little tote.
Yep.
A little
Oh,
tote
yeah.
of something. And
It'll get you out of
definitely
all
get
kinds
you
of
out a
sticky
jam.
situations.
Or slippery.
Yes. Technically slippery
That's the word.
situations. You are correct. Yes. Because sticky situation, you wouldn't need either of those things. You would just, yeah. Anyways, doesn't matter. All right. On that note, anybody have anything else to add before we move into the podcast challenge?
Drive smart.
Awesome. Drive smart.
Speed up in the rain.
Speed up. Put the Rain-X on. Just give her. Yep.
Sand
Make sure you put your Crocs in
it's a
4x4.
shock.
Yes.
Brad's right. Drive to the weather conditions. I know
Yep.
that's difficult, but
This
for
is
some
true.
people,
There are
Put
many
your Crocs in
times,
4x4 in the winter.
right.
Yeah. There are many times I'm very happy that my work vehicle is capped at 104 kilometers an hour. I can't
And
drive
there's-
stupid in it.
I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
All right, moving into the podcast challenge. So your challenge for this episode is do something to either your vehicle or your house to prepare yourself for the winter. Because as much as we wish it's not coming, it's going to be here soon. All right,
Maybe for
upcoming
y'all.
events. We've got the London, Ontario Preppers coming up October the 22nd. It's at 615 Baseline Road East in London. It's running from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. There is a cover charge to get into this presentation. It's $15 a person or $20 a family. For any information on that presentation that's going on, kick an email over to info@ontariopreppers.ca, and that's info@ontariopreppers.ca. We've got a weather blurb there, Jeff.
sure. I'll nerd out a little bit on this one, but I'll explain it a bit. So the hurricane season seems to have calmed down for now. Again, don't let your guard down. There's been several instances of late season bad storms. Thinking specifically December 10th of last year, 2021. The United States had one of the largest tornado outbreaks that they've had for a long time on the 10th of December. So don't let your guard down. Personally, I believe winter is going to come early. We have another La Nina year in the Pacific. So basically, the short version of it is it is a cooling of the surface water, being cooler than normal, and the stratospheric polar vortex is as cold as it's ever been. Yes, that's a long ways up in the atmosphere, but it's as cold as it's ever been. Anybody up and down the West Coast is going to be affected by a PDO, and that's what's called a Pacific Decadal Oscillation. Basically, what it is it takes the average water temperature and is it going to be above normal or below normal? Last year, it was what they called a negative PDO, it was below normal. This year, it's going to be a positive PDO. It's going to be above the average. Which is incredibly rare because, as I say, the La Ninas are a cooler water feature out in the Pacific. So that is so rare that they really have trouble finding records of it. So it's a very rare occurrence. So there's a lot of chatter and disagreement about what effect it may or may not have. I think it could easily amplify any weather systems that begin in the west and go east. I'm thinking of your typical Colorado low, those kind of things, as opposed to the East Coast weather bombs. They start in the east and they stay there. There was also a volcanic eruption in the Pacific Ocean, I believe, back in May. Hardly made any news or anything. Obviously, because it was underwater, it caused a large plume of water vapor to be pushed into the atmosphere. That water vapor Usually takes a few months to kind of sort itself out in the atmosphere, and it could add significant moisture to some storms. So I've thrown a video in there for a guy that I follow pretty closely called Ryan Hall Y'all. It's a YouTube video, and he kind of goes over that stuff that I discussed there. So yeah, I'm gonna say have your shovels ready, have your snow blowers ready. I think it's I don't think it's going to be an epic year, but I think it's going to be above normal.
All right, good to know. All right, for deal of the week, we've got 150 feet of 550-pound paracord on sale at Princess Auto. So it is regularly $9.99. It's on sale for $6.49. So check that out if you're looking for some paracord. Can never have too much.
Paracord's like ammo. The only time it's too much is if you're trying to swim.
Fair enough.
Just like you can never have too much duct tape.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I just bought more today.
Oh boy.
Of course it did.
All right, we'll move into some shout outs. Got a quick shout out to Brian and Jeff just for the help with all the work in the backyard. It's been a pile of work, and it's starting to come together here. So I appreciate all the help, because it would have been one hell of a feat for me to do all on my own. So it's been good to have some helping hands around.
And I've got a shout out to the Simcoe Resiliency Group Eric mentioned earlier for a good meet. And Caroline, get off your butt and get your ham license.
Yep.
You're one to talk, Jeff.
Hey, I got my license, so
Yeah, you were soon to be for what, a year?
no. No, remember the challenge was when I mentioned I was getting my license, you said you have a year to get it, and I got it before the year was up. So
I got one. My buddy Aaron Cole down here in the comments in the live chat. I didn't see him. He said notice me. Come visit, man. Been too long. You know, we were both in the Army together, so we got out actually on the same day. Looking forward to hanging out with him again. Come over and have a drink.
Nice.
Nice.
All right. Anyone else? All right. We'll move into email iTunes reviews. So we got a couple in the inbox here. First email reads, hi, guys. I love listening to your podcast. It always gets me thinking. I have some fairly decent stock on supplies. Live in northern Saskatchewan, where power outages happen a decent amount, and I live in the country, so we grow our own food. It's not a 10-minute drive to the store. But what I do not have is a good backup for meds. Is it possible to cover antibiotics, backup, stock, and where you would suggest getting them from? Or would it be able to have someone speak towards traditional medicines like birch bark to replace aspirin, that type of idea? I've come across Jace Medical from the States, where they ship a supply of basic antibiotics, but do not know if they'll be able to ship this way. I also know that in a real bind, you could use animal antibiotics or traditional medicines, but would love to hear more about this subject. Thanks for what you do. And that's signed off, Dawn. So we have kind of played around with the idea of having somebody come on that knows what they're talking about with herbal medicines and that kind of thing. So stay tuned. Hopefully we'll get that going at some point here. As far as Jace Medical goes, they are actually available in Canada now. So I think I mentioned that 2 or 3 episodes ago. I've got an agreement with them through Rapid Survival for a quick discount. So I will throw that in the live chat here. And but they do ship to Canada now. It is pricey, but they do send their prescription antibiotics from a Canadian pharmacy with a receipt from a Canadian pharmacy. So similar to what you would get, actually the exact same thing you would get if it was prescribed by your family physician or a physician here in your respective province. So I suspect that that's something that you could submit to benefits plan if you have one through your work. Don't quote me on that. Haven't tested it. Don't know if it would actually go through, but you do get a legitimate receipt from the pharmacy showing all the DIN numbers and all that kind of stuff. So definitely something to look into, but Jace is available in Canada. So check that out, and then stay tuned for a future episode where hopefully we'll get somebody on that kind of knows those alternate types of medication options.
And we got another email from Dan, and Dan says, "Hey guys, love the podcast. Have become a regular listener over the past couple of years. I've been surprised that solar pop can heater has never come up as an off-grid heat source. It's a very simple solar heater that anyone can build using their used pop or beer cans and a double pane window. I built a small one just to test it out by mounting it in a south-facing window and ran it using a little computer fan. It did produce a little bit of heat in that part of the house, and I always wanted to do it on a bigger scale with a rooftop unit. Life circumstances change. I've yet to go full scale with one, but this has always been in the back of my mind. Here's a link on how to build one. Keep up the great show." So the link is in the show notes. I did follow it. Didn't seem to send me to any kind of weird page. It seemed to be what it said, which is nice. But I've never heard of it before now, so that's why we haven't talked about it. It would definitely be interesting to build one and give it a try. Perhaps if you've done this before, then send us an email at feedback@prepperpodcast.ca, and we can get you on the air and we can talk about it.
Yeah.
I'd love to see what a full scale one would do and how this would work, because the 5 minutes that I spent looking at this website that you sent was great. But thanks for the kind words. I love the feedback. This is a cool one, especially because it takes, like, this particular one was like 2 by 4 feet approximately, and you need like 72 beer cans to do that. And step one is drink the beer.
I am up for that challenge.
So that's right up there with my abilities and skills. So that's
Pinterest.
Yeah,
Pinterest actually has quite a few different instructable posts or whatnot. There's been a few people that I've seen before have built some of these. One guy put one on his kind of like the same backyard shed that I've got. Put one on, built it. It took the nip out of the air when it was really cold. Like he was in the U.S. somewhere, not maybe as south as Greg is, but bastard.
30 degrees, not 60 degrees. Yeah.
But it raised the temperature in his little backyard shed. He had it insulated, but no other heat source. It raised the temperature by 5-6 degrees, and he had one that was, say, 3 by 5, same kind of thing, solar powered fan on it just to move the air around, but it did increase the temperature, and he thought it was a success for himself. So
yeah, it's definitely worth investigating.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I haven't looked into it, but I would kind of think it would be something in the last podcast, I believe it was Pierre that mentioned about, we had talked about like hot water bottles and just taking water bottles and setting them on the shelf of your window where the sun comes in, heating up the water bottles and using it as a hot water bottle. I could see that kind of being the same sort of design idea, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, I had a quick look at it too, and it's works kind of on the radiant heat kind of setup where you get all the beer cans in, you paint them black, you line them all up in the two between the two panes of glass, and then it radiates the heat through. It's a neat little setup. It would be something to kind of play around with, and hey, like you said, Brad, 4 or 5 degree difference can be significant, right? It's yeah.
Greg won't
especially
have to put
minus
socks
30.
on.
Yep.
You won't have to put his socks on with his Crocs.
That's true.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'd rather be in minus 25 degree temperature than minus 30
100%.
outside.
Yep. Oh, that's great. I appreciate the tip there, Dan. And I put the link in the live chat here, and it'll get its way into the show notes too for those of you listening to the audio version of this later. We do have another. This is actually an iTunes review that came in, titled "Heating an Apartment." It says, "Just found this golden podcast. I live in a 1-bed bath apartment, and our heating is forced air, so your recommendations for second heating is a bit out of the question. I do plan to get some heavy-duty shades to help us, but is there any other good apartment-friendly ideas for secondary heating?" And that is signed off Pink Unicorn 606 via Apple Podcasts.
Well,
Pink
Pink Unicorn, I would
be
say
Ian.
go
I
and
see a fake.
Yep. Clearly it's Ian.
Y'all
I mean,
actually
I
beat
would
me
I
to
would
that
suggest
one.
like a little buddy heater. Like if
Yep.
it's a small apartment, like
I
the
would
little buddy,
suggest
as long
following the
as-
link above to the Instructables.
well, there's that too.
Yep.
But just yeah, like a little propane heater or a little ceramic heater. As long as you have carbon monoxide detector, you've got a fresh air source, all that good stuff. It might not be like comfortable, right? You might not be lounging around and like in your banana hammock and sandals like Greg there, but it's probably better than freezing to death. So
Yep.
that would be my first choice. Just remember, if you're in an apartment, you can't take propane in an elevator, so you have to walk up the stairs.
Unless
Right.
you don't get caught.
That's true.
Okay,
Or-
under
or-
TSSA regulations in Ontario, you can't carry propane up you can't take propane up an elevator, so you have to carry it up the stairs.
Challenge accepted.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
Alan broke up there. Ian broke up there. I didn't understand
Yeah,
that.
I
You
don't
don't
know.
need
Yeah,
to
you
repeat it.
switched
I'm
to
just
Ian.
saying.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
What are you,
we
a
did
cop?
Or you could try that. I mentioned it in the last episode, and actually somebody in the Discord actually made one to test it out. Those terracotta pot
Yep.
heaters, the candles and the upside down clay pots, and again, not a huge heat source, but you're in a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. I'm going to suggest that you'd probably get some decent use out of that.
I would think so. Yeah.
Especially if you made a couple, put one on the counter in the bathroom, put one on the counter in the kitchen. You could probably heat it up nicely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I mean the heavy duty shades are great to keep the heat in. Obviously, use the sun for heat if you can for some solar mass. Get it into the apartment during the day and cover up the window at night, and that can be good too.
Put some rocks on a bookshelf behind the window.
There you go. Yep, all kinds of options. But hopefully those few will help you out a little bit, and you can get a little bit of heat if you need it in your apartment. So with that, I will bring episode number 180 of the Canadian Prepper Podcast to an end. You can find the podcast on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, or of course your favorite podcast app. Please help us out. Submit a review. It does help other people find us and also gives us something to chat about.
And we do record these shows live on Facebook and YouTube. If you want an early peek at the show and hear this in all its uncut, unedited glory, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, Canadian Prepper Podcast, and click that notifications tab. That will give you an alert when we're going live. If you want to contact me directly, you can get me at Alan, that's with one L, at prepperpodcast.ca. I do check those emails every once in a while, and all I get is spam. So, send me something, make me feel wanted.
And if you want to reach me, you can just send a message to feedback@prepperpodcast.ca.
I can be reached at batbradcpp@gmail.com if anybody wants to talk.
You can find me at offthewallcustomizing@gmail, sometimes on Discord, and the other CPP on Monday nights where I talk about why I hate government.
And you can reach me on the Discord app or at crossrifleranch@gmail.com.
Right. And please check out Rapid Survival at rapidsurvival.com. You can get me there on the live chat. I also tend to hang out in the Discord a lot more often now that Ian got punted. Or you can email me at feedback@prepperpodcast.ca. So thanks for joining us this evening. Until next time, be prepared, stay safe,
And keep learning.